Got to go over to Chi-Town, Chicago. What's going on, family? What's going on? For everybody that is adamant about representation and you only care about the look of a person and you think that they are supposed to be for you just because they are the same color as you from a construct that was given to you by other people that didn't have your best interest at heart, I want you to pay attention to this because I've been on Chicago's neck for a long time and everybody keep telling me, Anton, don't talk about Chicago. Anton, don't talk about Chicago. Okay, so the major news networks can talk about it. The local news networks can talk about it. Y'all can keep killing each other, but I'm supposed to ignore it because you don't like the fact that I'm bringing visibility to a problem that you should address within your own city. It's people that's not even from Chicago. It's people that are from Chicago. It's people that's from Chicago that don't even live in Chicago anymore that somehow feel some kind of tie or loyalty to it for some reason that I don't understand it. Hey, before we get into the show, let me ask y'all a question. Why do y'all feel compelled to be so down for a city that you don't even own any property in? Why do you feel so compelled to be so down for a state and a city that continues to steal y'all properties, and that's one of the reasons why they call it Crook County? Why do you continue to be so down for something that is not conducive for your family, and it's a greater chance for you to die walking outside to school than it is for you to actually jump on a plane and for the plane to fall out the sky? Why y'all so loyal to a city and to streets and the blocks that you don't own anything of? We'll get there. We'll get there. Stockholm Syndrome, your car? It's YN season. You know it's YN season when the weather change. We'll get there. We'll get there. Let's go ahead and jump into it, y'all. Chicago has been named the murder capital for the 13th year in a row. That is not a designation that you want. They have been named the murder capital, but this is part of the reason why, and this is Brandon Johnson explaining how these are just large gatherings. It doesn't really matter how many people gather inside of and tear up all of the property that's in Chicago. Check it out.
The mayor's comments came during an event here at Navy Pier directed at teenagers from at-risk neighborhoods, providing them with something to do, connecting them with resources for summer jobs and other activities. And it is more of this that the mayor believes would go a long way to preventing disruptions like what happened last night.
The reckless and dangerous behavior that was exhibited last night, no one wants to see that, and we're not going to tolerate it.
Mayor Brandon Johnson today reacting to last night's so-called teen takeover in Streeterville, where dozens of teenagers congregated near Cityfront Plaza at McClurg in Illinois, creating a disruption that led to a 15-year-old boy being shot in the leg. Second Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins earlier adding more detail to what he described as 3 to 4 hours of uncontrolled chaos.
They were blocking traffic, jumping on cars, harassing pedestrians, stealing from the stores. There were several fights. Tasers were deployed.
It is not immediately clear what led to the shots being fired. The incident coming on the final weekend of spring break for Chicago students. It is a weekend during which the city also hosted its 4th annual My Chai, My Future Teen Bash event at Navy Pier, where it's estimated between 1,000 and 1,500 teens came out to participate.
Do y'all see the teens that's at the Navy Pier at the sanctioned event? Let me show it to y'all again.
Estimated between 1,000 and 1,500.
Now, this is not me creating a narrative. This is me addressing an issue and a problem. Y'all always call me insensitive, but I'm not the one that got my kids out here running and screaming and killing people. My child, for example, over the past week was at a Taekwondo conference, and she was competing, winning another gold medal, and she was working with her teammates and being productive and being happy and actually traveling the world and seeing things and, you know, amongst the diverse group of people that are white, Asian, and black and Hispanic, and all of her friends are, you know what I'm saying, they look like the whole gamut of what the world is. My child is doing things that are productive and constructive and helping her teammates and helping to coach people, coaching new students and things like that. So when they come at you, when they say you a sellout, I'll say that you a sellout. The parents of the people that you support, the ones that's on TikTok saying that they voted for Kamala Harris, all of their kids is in the street. Now, when I look at the sanctioned event, when I look at this sanctioned event that was for Chicago youth, that less than 1,000 people turned up at, but then I look at the flip side of all of the teen takeovers that was in the street past 12 o'clock at night, what are we left to think? How are we left to put this together? How are we left to make sense of this? Somebody said everybody child ain't lucky. Another Dusty. Is it that your child is supposed to be lucky, or are you supposed to be intentional with how you raise your child? Listen, it's your fault if you had a child out of wedlock. It's your fault if you had a child, but you had no way to provide for it. You opened up your legs, and it's nobody's responsibility to take care of your ugly, foolish, bastardly child except for you. I'm tired of the community sitting there making excuses as to why their children is supposed to be unruly. So you can't do what you're supposed to do. Your child are the ones that suffer for the consequences of you. It ain't about your child being lucky. It's about you being a better parent. Are you dumb or are you stupid? And this is the reason why everybody can't have children. Everybody's child ain't lucky. Is that luck? Is it luck that I keep my child busy and we're active parents in her life and we made sure that we didn't have her out of wedlock and we made sure that we worked together and stayed together to raise her up to be in the admonition of God? Is that luck, or is that being intentional about how you raise your children? You an idiot. You an idiot if you decide that you want to have a child out of wedlock. You an idiot if you decide that you want to have children without actually having a way to pay for their well-being and create the best environment possible. You an idiot if you have multiple different children, but you couldn't even afford the one that you had. You're an idiot if your child is... I'm holding the parents accountable for their ugly, stupid, gang-ridden, robbing children that's going to be menaces to society in the future, that's also going to uphold the prison industrial complex and still vote for the Democratic plantation. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. So dumb.
Teens came out to participate, some saying more of this is what is needed.
At first, when I came here, I'm like, this is going to be so corny, and then I'm in here, and it's like so
See, they don't even think that this is cool.
So many things
they thought it was going to be corny.
So much of a variety.
Some in City Council saying what is needed is a change in the city's curfew for minors from the current 10 p.m. to 8 p.m.
That can be used to quell the violence before it starts. The police have asked for this tool. I think we need to give it to them. It's an extraordinarily difficult thing to do, to contain 300 teenagers when you only have about 60 police officers.
Changing the curfew is something that Alderman Hopkins first attempted to do last summer. At the time, City Council deferred the vote, sending the proposal back to committee. It is one that Mayor Johnson opposes, saying that enforcing the current curfew is enough.
See, Brandon Johnson don't really care. But we're going to continue on with the story. We haven't gotten to the thick of things. This is a better summary of what happened during the whole teen takeover over this past weekend.
I actually believe, Anthony, that the rain may have kept a lot of teenagers from returning here today to the AMC Theater, but I will share with you all, there was a successful event held earlier in the day at Navy Pier aimed to provide a safe space for teenagers. This, of course, comes after a lot of unruly behavior taking place here in Streeterville on last night. AMC Theater's Streeterville location loaded with Chicago police. Here's why.
I thought one of these kids was going to get hit by a car or a bus.
Here's just a glimpse of the chaos. 8 p.m. Friday, teenagers storming East Illinois Street. The city estimating 300 teens gathered for about 4 hours. There were fights, a 15-year-old shot in the leg, an 18-year-old also stabbed nearby. Chicago teenagers deserve to enjoy Navy Pier, the city, just like anybody else, but they have to behave.
Absolutely. What they're not welcome to do is break windows, steal from stores, jump on cars, block traffic, intimidate pedestrians, and shoot guns into crowds. That happened last night.
12 people were arrested, including 2 for aggravated assault to a police officer. From spring break opportunities to 29,000 summer jobs coming, even Park District events. The city and its partners have organized more activities to keep teens productive. Earlier today, a teen bash was held at Navy Pier. 1,500 young people in attendance for video games, skateboarding, and a massive job fair.
We got a butterfly museum. We got stuff for animal shelters. There's so many opportunities, fireman opportunities.
Back outside of AMC around 4 p.m., officers huddled in position, preparing for a possible second round. Rodney Phillips is with the Crisis Prevention Response Unit.
They're not going to go where y'all already set up. They already coordinating on TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat on where they going to be next, fam. If they knew where you, listen, if they wanted you to know where they was going to be, then that's what they was set up as. That's not how they setting it up. That's not how it move, bro. If you want to understand how to quell this situation, you got to start thinking like a YN. That's just the facts. You got to think like a YN. What you think that they was out there looking for jobs? You don't know what they looking for? I'll tell you what they looking for. They looking for violence. They're looking to retaliate against their ops, and they're also looking to get some box. They trying to figure out where the holes at. That's what they say. Hey, man, where the holes at, bro? That's what they looking for. And you know what the worst part about this situation is that Chicago is down over 2,000 police officers, meaning that they don't have the capacity to stop it even if they wanted to, because the majority of the resources went to illegal migrants and to removing ShotSpotter and for the administration to continue to steal, while they're also advocating for raising taxes against you guys. And y'all keep voting blue, and it don't even matter because the administration is a reflection of the culture.
90% of the kids that come down here, they come down here for a safe space to enjoy themselves, to escape the things that are going on in their neighborhoods.
Mayor Brendan Johnson saying, quote, "No one wants to see the reckless and dangerous behavior that was exhibited last night. We are not going to tolerate it. Also, those who have caused chaos will be held accountable," he says. If there's something you could say to the young people that
they won't even lock up. They won't even lock up illegal migrants when they not doing what they're supposed to do. What makes you think that they're gonna lock up the YNs that's out here running rampant and running reckless? What makes you think that they're gonna take care of the irresponsible ones if they out here running rampant and running reckless? That's what you think that they're gonna do? You think they own it? All right. Well, let me share with you what Chicago's latest designation has become.
Well, Chicago is named America's murder capital for the 13th consecutive year. And Democrat leaders are now being called out for demonizing police and touting a declining crime rate despite the concerns of residents from all across that city.
Chicago is now been named. And it's funny because, you know, when you young and you dumb and you're a liberal and you ignorant, you think that that's a badge of honor. People walk around and be like, man, I'm from Chicago. I wish you would. And everybody is supposed to be scared of you. You know what I'm saying? That's not a badge of honor. That's disrespectful to your community and to the people that actually care about you. We'll sit there and we waste time on protesting Tesla. We sit there and we'll waste time on getting mad at Trump. You don't have to worry about that. The real enemy is in your own communities. You have zero, and I mean absolutely zero, time to be wasted on anything outside of cleaning up your own communities. Strong, well-behaved, great parents, tolerant communities, guess what? They don't need a large police force. They could have a population that rivals yours, and they don't even need a large police force. You know why? because they self-police. They hold each other accountable. They make sure that you don't drive on your grass. They confront you if they got a problem, and you can get as mad as you want to. And if you don't like it, then you could just move. But they're going to keep confronting you. They're going to continue to fine you. They're going to continue to hold you accountable. You can't have dilapidated property. They're going to fine you. They're going to take care of business, and they're going to make sure that the culture is right. You think that white people are racist because they freeze you out. And it ain't even white people, because it's a bunch of poor white people too. You think that people are racist because they freeze you out of the neighborhood because they require you to meet the expectation of what their kids is requiring for them to be safe when they walking home from school. No, they not racist against you. They're racist against the culture that you bring into those communities. You're not going to come in and make things difficult. They're going to make it so difficult to where you either comply or you move. But don't nobody want to be a part of the murder capital. You can have that designation. Nobody wants to be in the murder capital.
Let's bring in Raymond Lopez, Democratic Chicago alderman. Your city, unfortunately, is the murder capital. Raymond, why?
You know, well, the reason is simple, John. We have a political elite that is in love with criminality, that encourages criminal behavior, pushes down our police officers, demonizes their work on a daily basis, and elevates the perpetrators of crime as the victims of society themselves. And that kind of coddling has brought us to where we are today for the 13th year in a row. Right now, the disregard for human life is so high in the city of Chicago that you can literally have a group of 100 teens enjoying a warm day and almost expect at least 2 or 3 to be shot. And we, in fact, saw that just 2 days ago, where a 15-year-old was shot in a crowd walking down the Magnificent Mile. And many of our politicians, like Brandon Johnson and others, continue to make excuses, continue to rationalize this behavior as opposed to hold them and their parents accountable for what's going on.
There was a congressional hearing earlier this month at which Mayor Brandon Johnson appeared, and Congressman Darren LaHood got into a bit of a sparring match with him. I want to play this for our viewers.
Last year, Chicago had 573 murders.
Down.
Okay, but I want to compare that to the city of New York, that is almost 2/3 the size of Chicago, 337 murders. So you had 573 murders in the city of Chicago, and you're 1/3 the size.
That's the lowest amount in 5 years under my leadership.
Okay, and you look at the level of violent crime.
And let me add some additional context. They're juicing the numbers. They're absolutely juicing the numbers. I have friends in the Chicago Police Department. You can't look. It's exponentially worse than what they're even presenting it to be. I have friends in the Chicago Police Department. They tell me that it is intentional, that they are underreporting, or they won't even respond to certain things, or they've changed to where you can only label it a certain thing if it goes past a certain point, and then they label it as violent crime. Real talk. Real talk. They are 100% juicing the numbers to try to make it seem like it's better than what it is. But you talk to anybody that live in any of these neighborhoods, and even on college campuses, people are scared to go outside. And the minute that the weather change, they already know that it's going to get ugly. They're juicing the numbers so that he can say, oh no, it's down. And then people will walk outside and say, well, how come it don't feel down? How come we have so many vacancies inside of the, what is it, the Magnificent Mile, the Miracle Mile, whatever it is that they have in Chicago, downtown Chicago? How come tourism is down? How come the police response times are so low? By the time that the police get there, the criminals has already got away, and they not even taking a police report in the same way that it would if they had arrived at a time that they can actually stop the crime. But the police officers are also hamstrung, and they're down over 2,000 police officers. They juice in the numbers, 100%.
Criminal sexual offenses and drug dealers.
All violent crime is down in Chicago.
When I hear your answer, no one in this room should be surprised that your approval rating is 6.6%.
The mayor seems satisfied with the way things are going. What do you say?
Well, I think acknowledging the 6.6% approval rating was probably the only truthful thing that happened at that hearing, because even in that instance, The mayor was deflecting. He was lying, because the reason that the numbers are down in his estimation is because they've been able to use jurisdictional overlap to try and negate even more numbers being added to our totals. If it happened on an expressway or a county road, then they don't count in the city of Chicago, even if it happened within our borders. But what I do know is this.
See what I'm saying? You see how they juicing the numbers? Oh, if it happens on an expressway, if the police chase, make sure you designate it here. Oh, wait a minute. If, the person is from this city, but it happened inside of Chicago, or, you know what, if the person escaped past our jurisdiction, then you know what? That's not our responsibility. That's your responsibility. They're juicing the numbers to try to make it seem like violent crime is down. Violent crime is up more than ever before over in Chicago.
Is that people aren't calling 911 anymore. People are afraid. Police are unable to do their job because of cancellation of gunshot detection technology and other things. We know that the perception of the violence in the city of Chicago is real, because the violence in the city of Chicago is real. And the mayor can try to do that performance as much as he wants, but the people know better, and they can feel it, especially on the south and west sides and predominantly African-American communities, where you have entrepreneurs trying to pursue the American dream and are being vandalized, shoplifted, and destroyed simply because of the location, because the mayor refuses to call out communities for the behavior that's going on in them.
I want to put up a graphic that shows the year-to-date crime statistics for your city. Now, these are according to the Chicago Police Department. These might be some of the numbers that the mayor was referring to. Murders down 10%, robbery down 34%, battery down 15%, carjacking down 31%. Total crimes, according to the police department, down 17%. Are they fudging those numbers?
They're absolutely fudging those numbers, because they're reclassifying and subdividing them into various different ways to avoid them being included in the total number of each of those various crime categories.
Yep.
For example, there are 5 different ways to refer to carjacking, of which 4 out of those 5 will be reported as the main crime statistic, where everything else will be downplayed as something else or re-referred as something else. But we know that that semantical argument does not reflect the truth of what's going on in the city of Chicago. Crime is not down here, and the lack of reporting of crime is up. When you look at the robberies, the battery, the assaults, people are simply not calling 911 anymore. And if that is what you're putting your victory lap on, that people refuse to call 911, then you are doing a very poor job as mayor and truly don't understand the fact that crime has not changed, just people's accommodating it has.
So, Chicago. Shout out to y'all. Crime is absolutely being underreported, but that's okay, because we're going to continue to keep y'all. See, I got a little distracted for a while because we had so much international news that I couldn't necessarily address what was happening in the city of Chicago as far as the crime being accurately reported, or all of the issues and the problems that had been showing itself. And I know that he had been called to Senate hearings to account for immigration and sanctuary cities and things, but we back. We on top of it.